Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. I'm really glad you could join us. So today we're talking about really a few different important things, especially talking about role models, and we're also talking about change and the change you really wish to see in your life and in your business as well. And with us today are, well, two very impressive ladies I'd like to introduce you to. Two models and social activists came together with a shared dream of starting a modeling agency that would disrupt the way we think about and see the industry. So on a phone call was all it took after having been introduced to each other via a common friend. Val and Anne Therese knew right away that the agency had to happen. And so with us today is Therese Gennari and Val Emanuel are the agency that puts ethics, sustainability, environmental, and social justice at the core of their business. Founded in 2017, the agency came to life from the desire to build a platform where models are given a voice to speak about things that they actually believe in. And they wanted to show the world that models can be incredible agents of change and help shift the pop culture and the direction needed for a better future. Ladies, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Well, I'm really excited that you could be here because a lot's happening right now. So what are you seeing with what's changing in the world right now, especially in this kind of maybe post-COVID climate?
Well, what isn't happening? What isn't changing? I think in our industry, what's changing is that people are not just aware they have a voice, but they feel really empowered in having a voice. And it used to be where models, influencers, celebrities were supposed to kind of just be a blank canvas and not talk about things that matter because that could harm their brand. But now it's almost like we're looking after celebrities and saying, I want you to speak up. Like you should not be silent in these times. And we need you to be a leader. We need you to inspire us. And that's sort of what our business is about. No, that's not sort of, it is what our business is about. So we're just really excited to see the landscape shifting in that direction.
Yeah, and I see the same thing as a lot. It seems like social change and social good has really become a major theme over the last few years. Is that what you two are seeing as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think people are way more open about it now than they ever have been. There's that whole don't be silent because being silent is kind of saying what side you're on. And I'm not too much saying that, but I think that is how consumers see things. If a brand doesn't speak up about a current event or, an influencer doesn't speak about a current event, it's like, do you have an opinion on this? We want to know. You're promoting culture so much. You can't be silent when, culture is asking you to say something.
How do you feel about that from the owner's perspective? Because I think as an entrepreneur, we're kind of almost scared a little to put too much of our views out there because the minute we do that, it's like politics. The minute I say which side I'm on, then I automatically push away half of the other side of the people I'm talking to. So that seems to be a concern with entrepreneurs is almost sharing too much of their views and pushing potential customers away.
It's a scary landscape. I think it's just really important to understand as a brand. And if you want to go into business as a brand today, is that the customer is asking for that. They're asking for transparency. They're asking for involvement. And obviously you have to be careful. You can't just support any movement out there because that also looks like you're not being genuine or authentic about it. So obviously choose where you're engaging and make sure that the things you say actually is something you want to stand behind and can stand behind. But I do think that the landscape is changing and it's up to influencers, brands, consumers, to anyone to kind of say, this is what I want to see in the world. And this is the vote that I'm laying every single day. And it calls for courageous actions. And that includes brands as well. But I think it's a beautiful opportunity to be more than just a brand. And I think everyone today have to step up and kind of show what kind of future we want to see for ourselves. And that goes for everything from corporations to brands to individuals to politics. So yeah, it's scary, but it's also needed.
What kind of things do you think individuals and businesses should be doing to kind of lead this change?
Education, number one. I mean, with our agency, so we have role models and we also have role models EDU, and it's a platform where on our newsletter and via our blog, we really do try to share, like, here's what's going on in the world. People are starting to say this new thing about climate change, or people are saying this thing about like Black Lives Matter or Breonna Taylor. And here are the facts. Like, we've taken time. We didn't just respond right away. Here are the facts that we've read. Here are places you can donate. Here are, pictures you can post, videos, swipe up stories, whatever. But I think really for your employees, the most important thing is that they feel supported in speaking up. Nobody wants to feel like, it is scary, right? But nobody wants to feel like they don't have enough information. And so that's why I love our clients, our models, because they have so many different points of view. And so with these different points of view, it's like we can take some information that we learned from somebody who maybe grew up conservative and somebody who grew up very liberal, and they're both talking about this situation and trying to help. So yeah, I mean, just listen to different voices, really.
And I will add to that too. I think what Val said is, on point. And I think with education comes humility and transparency, and the fact that it's okay not to know everything. I think especially for a brand, if you're talking to a brand about a brand again, it's impossible for anyone to know everything about everything. And so when different movements emerge, it's okay to say, oh, we're here to like learn, but as we're learning, we are changing our actions and we hold ourselves accountable. And I think instead of just saying, we are progressive, we are someone who's super inclusive, be more transparent and say, wow, this has brought a lot of things to our spotlight. And now we're looking at our own internal culture and realizing that we are not up to par to where we should be. And so we promise that we're going to make changes moving forward. So I think that is the level of transparency that needs to happen everywhere. And we also, by doing that, invite for a more inclusive conversation where everyone feel like, okay, they can actually engage, even though they may not know what's going on.
Do you think it works best and more effective if a business gets behind one cause and main cause and supports that cause, or diversifies and is kind of supporting multiple different causes?
You know what? That's what
Yeah.
we thought when we first started our agency. We thought, because there was like a vegan modeling agency, and there's agencies that are all yoga or all athletes. And I mean, we've got athletes, teachers, professional ballerinas, environmental activists, like actresses who are on TV. So with our business, it really is diversified. I mean, but that's like under the umbrella of social justice, right? Under the umbrella of environmentalism, we can have so many different things. So I don't think a brand necessarily has to pick one focus, but they can maybe give, money to a certain cause, or they can maybe, decide every single year they're going to have a different theme, a different person that they donate to. Our first year, it was sex trafficking. That was something that was very important to me because we came out at the same time as Me Too. So it was timely and it also made sense. And then the next year we ended up, partnering with a different organization that was doing ocean plastics because, a movie came out and that was very important to everyone. And we had influencers who wanted to talk about it.
Yeah, and I think if you wanna be diverse, that's totally fine. And then if you are a company who are like, but we passionately believe in the environment, then you can position yourself as an environmental organization or someone who cares about sustainability and climate change. But that doesn't mean that you cannot show up and be supportive in other movements as well. I think it's obviously important to choose your field and to sort of like to stay committed to that field. But I think you can still engage in other conversations as well.
Do each one of you individually have your main field or cause that you support?
Yeah, I call myself the climate optimist, and I'm a complete climate nerd. So I'm definitely on the environmental side of this. I think from the two of us, Val might be more on like the social justice side, but again, we are both very involved in all sorts of topics.
So what should I know? Let's start with the climate side. What should we know that we typically don't know about climate and what's happening there?
Well, climate change is very real for anyone who may have missed that. So I think mainly when I say to everyone, climate change is something that's already affecting everyone's life. We may not be aware of it. It might be more, evident in places where there are wildfires or flooding or, extreme weather events. But no matter where you live or who you are somehow being affected by climate change today, and is slowly approaching. And with that said, though, instead of being all afraid and kind of going to this paralyzed state where like we don't know what to do and we just, so panicked about the whole thing, I think it's a conversation that we need to start having in all homes and in a way that's actually empowering. So instead of saying like, here are all the disaster things happening to us and there's no way of escaping this, bring the conversation around and say, what are the solutions we can put in place right now? How can we build an even better world in the future? And I think we need to turn the narrative around climate change so that we feel much more encouraged to talk about it. And we also have to, again, start having inclusive conversations and to just make it clear that no matter what we care about, it's getting fueled by climate change. It's getting worsened by climate change. And so no matter if you care about social rights or, animals or whatever it is, it will get worsened by climate change. So I think it's a conversation everyone needs to have, but it can be had in a way that we feel empowered and optimistic about the things that we can do to create a better world.
Val, social justice, what should we know?
What should we know is that the landscape is changing every single day in social justice. And so before the agency, I was actually a history teacher, and I was a substitute teacher with LAUSD, and I'm bouncing around, talking to kids, and every single day something else is happening. And every single day we're finding out, new laws. And I mean, history is literally changing before our eyes. And so I just encourage people to be open. And I think people are really afraid to say the wrong thing. And so I always tell people what we should know is that there's really nobody who's right. I mean, there are definitely people who are on the wrong side of history, but in our conversations that we're having right now, are people who are trying to have positive changes in the legislative system, for example, or in the government. There's a lot of opinions that are out there right now, and all we can really do is vote and educate ourselves. So last year, we really tried to get people registered to vote. We had our influencers register thousands of people to vote. It was fantastic. And that's what we want to do, really. It's just like inspire change and have people participate in their community so that they can see that change.
How do you unblock the fear? Because you mentioned courage, and that's kind of what it is there's this fear of this self-empowered action of stepping up and having a voice on whatever topics it may be. And I agree, it takes a lot of courage. And as I mentioned, I think a lot of entrepreneurs avoid that because they're afraid to take a side. So how do you unlock that? How do you unblock that fear and have that courage?
I would say try to find personal experience within everything. There were so many people who were afraid to speak out last year when Black Lives Matter happened because they didn't have personal experience. And so a lot of our clients just reached out to me and called me, and not to be like, oh my God, how are you? Because you're Black, but just to be like, what should I say? What shouldn't I say? I mean, don't be afraid to ask, the person you're trying to support or the group that you're trying to support, like, how can I best be supportive? I don't want to do anything that's going to seem like I'm just like, trying to get in on this movement for the moment because it's going to make my business look better. But really, how can I speak up and take action? I think if you're not just talking, if you're actually taking action, people will see that. It's not just like, we're going to support everything from our profits today is going to go towards this one mission, but like, what are you going to do ongoing? So for me, I don't just like to post about something once, but really make it part of my life. And if I decide to do something, I don't necessarily have to stick with that one thing forever or that one foundation, but just doing as much as I can.
Yeah, I love that. And go ahead.
Yeah, I just feel like too, and this goes for, individuals as well as companies, there will always be people that have very strong opinions. And every time you speak up about anything, there will be someone who's going to come back at you and say, we don't support what you're saying and this is bad. And I think it's, obviously taking inventory and filtering out like what's serving me, what can I actually learn from it, what is just like pure hate. And that's going to exist too, because unfortunately that's the social landscape we exist in. But just to keep up, like have that awareness that unfortunately those people also do circulate, but we have to filter them out.
So when we look at that though, how rational is that fear? Like you two live in this space. I mean, it's just what you stand for. So do you find much of any resistance to your causes when you speak out? Like, do you have a lot of backlash on social or people say negative things? I mean, is that even a really irrational fear that you deal with on a regular basis?
Oh,
I would say
definitely.
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, for me, it's like I speak up about a lot of things climate related, and I have a lot of followers. I just speak from a personal experience that have very strong opinions, and sometimes I would say something something that doesn't really support my cause, maybe, or bringing in a different kind of angle to it, or like a different argument. I want to learn too. I'm always expanding and learning new things, and there will be someone who supported my last argument who's going to say, you're a hypocrite, I don't believe you anymore, and like completely just start hating on me. It's happened. I have personal experience from that. But I do think that the amount of, respect you gain from other people and the support you gain and how much better you feel from actually speaking your truth and wanting to learn as you're sharing. I think that's another thing too. It's like, we have to be more okay with being wrong, because everyone's wrong from time to time. And we built this culture where like, we are so, we have to be right. We have to know so much. We have to be experts in every field, and it's not okay to be wrong. And if you say something wrong, then like shame on you. It's like, it's impossible to be that person. And if we want to learn and evolve and like become new people and create a new society, like we have to start by being okay with being wrong. And that starts with you speaking up, saying, hey, let's learn together. How can we get better?
Tell me a little bit more about role models. Tell me more about your model. I'm really interested in how this actually works.
Well, we started off in 2017, and I'd been managing some friends when the influencer boom started, and just kind of helping them produce content, and like, how are we going to, getting followers, like all of these things that we still didn't know. I feel like now there's kind of an influencer system, or at least a plan that people are following to become an influencer, but we didn't know any of that. And I really thought that I could start an agency that just had people who, could be public speakers and authors, and, have their own brands. So I started talking about it. And Anne Therese also thought that the industry needed change and that models needed to be different. And so we started the agency as a commercial and print agency in 2017. We have over 100 clients in the US and around the world. And now we've really switched into being like 50% commercial and print and 50% content creation. So our clients, make companies like Maybelline and Warby Parker and Nike, and they can shoot this content for, this new era that we're living in, where we can't meet the way that we used to. And honestly, marketing needs to be way more organic. People want to see, if I'm a mom, I want to see moms using this product. We are really just trying to help brands right now to produce things in a way that they haven't before. So we also are having a green stamp and helping brands to make their production more eco-friendly. So that's what we're working on now.
Yeah, the initial idea about the agency was really to empower the model and say, you have an incredible platform. People are looking up to you. People are following you for who you are. Use that platform to inspire positive change. So that was like the initial idea. And the cool thing is, by just putting our company out there, we attracted all these models who were like, I have been waiting to have a voice. I have all these things I want to speak up about. But as a model, you're technically told to like kind of just stay quiet and not to share these things. So the first mission was to empower models to say, you do have a platform, please speak it. And the cool thing was that, like Val mentioned, we launched our business in 2017, which was the same year that Me Too happened. And so that also started to stir around the pot of like, what does this industry look like? And from there, brands started like requesting models who are more than just a pretty face. Like, we want people who are, empowered, or who are interested in different, like entrepreneurs. Like, we want athletes, we want real people. So we started to see an increase of requests from brands saying, who do you have represented who's more than just a model? Like, how can we amplify his or her voice? And how can we make a campaign around their personal brand? And so it's been a journey of 4 years of just seeing this industry shift. And like Val mentioned too, since COVID, it's also been a shift in how we produce things and how we create production. So yeah, it's kind of cool. And it's just a very exciting journey to be on with our models.
It sounds like a fundamental shift from, be quiet and not have an opinion, to now brands are approaching you saying, we want models with a stance. We want models with a platform. We want models with an opinion. I mean, that seems like a pretty dramatic shift.
Yeah, exactly what happened.
That's phenomenal. So what do you take your clients and then help them get their platform and help them understand the marketing, the social aspects to be able to, take their voice to the world?
Yeah. So I'll just start real quick. Yeah, we first of all are looking for models who do have a voice. We want someone that's like, is this someone who has a role model material or agency role models management? And it doesn't have to be that this person already is like a superstar out there promoting, animal rights or whatever it might be, although we have those people on our board as well. But if it's someone who genuinely has a good energy, who has a do good kind of attitude to herself. And, part of what we do as an agency is we host events. So we educate our models. A lot of our models have become sustainability activists from signing with us, have now shifted their diets and mindset. And now they're using the platforms to speak up. And we've heard so many models say, you have helped me change my life. I thought I was stuck in this career that was nothing but a fake world. And now I actually feel like I'm doing something like genuinely better for the planet or for the people. So it's both sided. It's like, we do attract the people who want to be activists, but then also we try to empower and educate them on what they can do.
Sorry if there's background noise. Apparently there's a tremendous amount of weeds right outside of my window that have to be taken out with a weed whacker. Like, I didn't even know this many weeds existed in the world, but this has been going on for like 10 minutes. So what about an ethical, sustainable way of life? I mean, that's fundamentally what you two are really promoting. So how do we do that? How do we do this better as humans to be able to actually achieve an ethical, sustainable way of life?
Anne, do you want to go on this one? This is like all
I
you.
was just-
So this is her
It is
class, her
on
climate
me.
optimist class. I love it.
Well, Val, you too have your Val also, by the way, is a sustainability activist at heart. She is someone who you may not expect to be that way, but once you get to know her, she's like the hardcore sustainability activist. Anyways, I will answer this question. How do we live a more ethical, sustainable real life? I think people feel like it's such a barrier to enter that life, and there's so much to learn, and they start looking around themselves and they're like, I'm so imperfect. And once you start to look around, you realize everything I do is, contributing to climate change. Everything I do is bad for the planet. And here's, the hard fact, and here's the hard reality. We all are. Like, it's almost impossible to live in the world today and not contribute to climate change or ecological destruction. That's terrible. However, just start somewhere, because you can also, by just the smallest things, start putting a vote for the world that you want to see instead. And I always say to people, you might feel like you're such a small person in the world compared to industries and governments. Like, who are you to make a difference? And we have to remember that individual actions actually really do matter. And if anything, they matter to you, because the things you do become your habits, and the habits create your identity, and the identity, shows up who you are and who you show up in the world, how you talk to people, what you believe to be possible. So I personally believe that becoming the change you wish to see is a way of having a fulfilled and happy life. And it's the first start to really feel like I am an empowered human being. And I actually do believe we have a chance of co-creating a world that's much more beautiful, because I'm doing those changes every single day. So it's a constant journey of choosing better, of slowing down, of being more aware, inviting awareness into your life, saying I'm imperfect, and that's a completely fine place to start from, but I'm choosing to learn and to do better. And then you just keep doing that every single day. And you talk about it with friends and family, you decide not to close your eyes to it anymore, and to just say, like, there are different ways of doing things, and it doesn't have to be worse. It can actually be better, but I won't know until I try it.
Yeah. And another thing is, this is why we have our brand partners and the partnerships we've done over the past 4 years. I mean, whether it's like having someone fill out a survey with the UN to say, what kind of change do you want to see in the world? Will you support this cause? Like, what's most important to you? Every time we make those little actions, we create change within ourselves, which has a ripple effect on the world. And so that's why it's so important for us to work with influencers, because I mean, they've got 1 million people watching what they do. And so if they promote an app that's talking about your carbon footprint, like our Earth Month collaboration right now, or if they watch a sustainable fashion show, like the one that we produced last year with EcoAge, they can see, oh, this is an action that I can take today. I can just stop shopping every single time I get a paycheck at Forever 21. I can just bring my cup. So we're not telling people to like go to the jungle of Costa Rica and live off the grid, although I'm very excited to go to Costa Rica next month and do that. We're just telling people to just look at the little things that you do, switch out your light bulbs, drive less, use less plastic straws, eat less meat, like whatever you can do that you can share with other people. That's important.
Collective actions. What else can we do beyond what you're describing to kind of promote collective actions?
I mean, vote obviously is a big one, but we want to show up more than just every fourth year. Collective action to me is making our individual actions visible to others. And by doing so, we're changing the norm and making it like acceptable in society to do these new kind of things. We are social creatures, and we have to remember that we are always looking for clues in our surroundings to like what's acceptable, what's okay, what are other people doing. And a lot of the barriers to climate action is actually because we're not seeing other people doing that. So just by being that courageous person that says, I'm going to show up and being this change and show other people that we can do this, but then also mobilize. I think it's so important that we do things in community. So think about an already existing community. You don't have to become a climate activist and create this, organization outside of your already existing life, because people will feel like that's too much to take on. And I don't have the time or the energy to do that. But what community are you already part of? Like, do you have a soccer club? Do you play chess? Do you have a book club? Even if you have a big family, like whatever your social life looks like right now, how can you start implementing more climate conversation? How can you inspire people in your already existing communities to be more conscious of their choices, to be more aware of that there are other ways to live our lives? So I would just start there.
How do you better become the change you really want to see in the world? Like, how do you fill that role model role better than what a lot of us typically are doing now.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Anne mentioned earlier taking an inventory, and this year I really took an inventory on my entire life, or even 2020. I mean, looking at the people I follow, the brands that I buy, what's in my refrigerator, like what am I wearing? I just kind of went down and second guessed everything in my life, and then just made a pause before I purchased anything. Like I personally don't have an Amazon account. I'm not a huge online shopper, but I was definitely doing some impulse buying, in 2020, because I was like sitting home all day on my computer. So I thought, well, why am I doing impulse buying? I'm like, well, I'm following people who are just promoting fast fashion. I'm following people who are just like, maybe not living a lifestyle that I want to live. So I think the first thing I did was really change what I was having my focus on, so that it could be easier for me to make these little actions. And that was really like changing everybody I followed on Instagram to people who are living a life that I want to live. And maybe that was on a farm. Maybe I do want to live on a farm in like 2 years. So yeah, I think seeing the change, and then you don't have to like replicate and copy what everyone's doing, but just getting inspired by other people is a really good first step. And it makes it seem easier. Like she said, we're social creatures.
And to just dovetail off that too, what she said about slowing down, I think is one of the most important things we can do. We tend to just run in these hamster wheels, and we don't even acknowledge the things we do every single day just out of habit. So by slowing down and allowing for that second thought to land and say, do I really need to buy this? Like, am I really craving a coffee that bad that I can't wait till I get home and make my own in my own coffee cup? Like those small just pauses that allow you to reflect and ask yourself a second time, what do I really need? What do I really want? Can I be as happy or happier not buying this or not supporting this? So yeah, it has a lot of power.
One of the big shifts I really love that I'm seeing a lot of now is when I go to check out places that ask me if I want to make a donation to a major cause they support. I never have noticed that before, probably 2 years ago. And now, whether I go to Walgreens or Chili's or wherever I am, they ask that question. How does that work? Like, how does a Chili's of the world get one cause they're behind and then ask every single one of their customers if they're willing to like donate? I think about that because like that's a big company, just as an example. And I just say Chili's because my kids will only eat at Chili's. So it's the only place we'll go out to now. And so I was just there last night, and I think about that. I'm like, wow, how did like they support one cause? And although it's phenomenal they did, like, how does that even happen for these brands to now just be grabbing one cause, adopt it, and ask all of their customers on a regular basis to be part?
Yeah.
Well, I think, sorry, you go, Val.
I think what happened when a lot of these brands were being called out is they realized that they were missing some key people in their departments. And Anne, Therese, and I think the reason that maybe we don't get called out so much is because our landscape, like we just look very different. We work with people of all ethnicities. So, I mean, we've got a lot of bases covered. There's nowhere that we really have blind spots, but I think a lot of these companies hired in sustainability experts, they hired in diversity and inclusion experts. And so now when these things come up, there's a person on the team that's like, hello, wait a minute, you need to talk about this. You need to speak up about it, or we're going to look like we just literally don't care. So that was really important. And I encourage people when they hire contractors to really think outside the scope of who you usually work with. You're like, okay, well, we're a company that has 2 male founders. Okay, so can you hire a woman for your next project, just so that you can have a different perspective, you know what I mean, on your next project? I think that's very important, and it keeps brands up to speed with the world.
And I wanted to just mention too, because I think what you brought up about, because I've noticed it too, that everywhere you go, they're asking for donations. And I think they get a tax cut. So it's actually really beneficial for the company. But I think that's just a brilliant example of how doing good can actually come with economical benefits as well. And I think that's a huge misconception. We're like, either you save the world or you care about, your company, and you can do both. And that's like solar energy is another example of like, switch to solar. It's much better for your pockets and for people and for climate and for everyone. But yeah, we can do good and get tax cuts, at least in the current system. And that's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, it's just an interesting world. Like I was at Panda Express the other day, and they even have a bell. Like when they ask you if you want to donate, and then they hit the bell, and then everybody goes, yeah. I'm like, wow, this is like crazy. But it made me really happy because like if everybody did that and you get this sense of just feeling good, you just gave $1, $3, $5, whatever it may be. But I'm like, wow, like how much change would take place if everybody you went into did that? But I guess I'm the other side is probably doesn't like to be solicited for donations all the time. So I don't know. I guess there's two sides of that coin.
Well, I think actually I like that because I think we're shifting into a world where like it's much more acceptable to be the do-gooder, if that's the word. It's like
Yeah.
we want to celebrate ourselves and other people. And like it used to be touche. It's like, don't tell people you're donating or like, don't show off or whatever it is. But like, no, do show off. Like it's a really cool feeling to give out of pure like, wanting to give. And our hashtag is proud to inspire. And so we encourage our models to be like, feel entitled to speak up, be proud of inspiring your community because it's an incredible feeling and you're allowed to feel that way. And so how can we nurture a world and a climate where like we are allowed to feel good about the good things we're doing? I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, see, and that's a really interesting point because I don't do that. I don't promote any of the charities I support or any of the good because I feel like then it's attention seeking. Like
Mm-hmm.
I still feel that way. And so I feel better when I can do it without people knowing about it. But then there's that other side where it's like if other people know about it, they're bringing the cause to the forefront. So I don't think I'm alone there. I think there's still some confusion a lot of people have of not wanting to self-promote themselves or others like, yeah, you're just showing off because you're donating to a charity. But then at the same time, like being silent, you don't really give the charity the promotion it should get. So I think a lot of people are in that mixed bag right now.
And
Yeah, you
also,
know what? You have a
yeah.
lot of humility if you even feel that way. So bless your heart. But also, I think, whenever the Kim Kardashians of the world like post something and people are, oh my gosh, I cannot believe she posted this GoFundMe. I can't believe she's promoting this. It's like, well, she also got them $2 million in donations. So you can talk all you want. But I mean, she brought to the forefront like capital punishment and nobody else is really talking about it. So you might think that, oh, pretty girls can't be lawyers. But I mean, she saved people from the death chair. So I mean, she's just speaking her mind. And I was watching this interview with her and she was like, it's just the punk rock thing to do is to not care, to just promote something and really not care. And I was like, yep, I feel like that's what we're doing here.
That's cool.
And I come from marketing and there's real psychology behind this. It's like when you just tell people this is how bad the world is, like you should all care and donate. Like there's just a blockage inside us where like we want to care and get to action, but we just don't. Versus if you actually tell people, here's a solution that people are already a part of, and you can be part of that as well. You feel much more excited about it, and you actually are more driven to get to the same action. So I think it's really important that we do showcase like, here's an amazing cause that I'm supporting. Please help support it too. Because I think another good example is doing wildfire season or where like this really like Black Lives Matter or any movement like Asian hate. And then people start sharing on social media saying, here's how you can donate. I'm donating this much money. And then I watched that story and I go, well, I should be donating too, because these people are donating, there is some sort of like emotional trigger that's so like deep psychology wise that, it does work. And I think we should just own that and start doing it more.
Well, you two are incredible. Thanks for coming on today. Where can everybody go to learn more?
Our handles. So to learn more, our handles are all at Role Models MGMT on Instagram. Our website is rolemodelsmgmt.com, on Facebook at Role Models MGMT. And my personal Instagram is at Malibu Mama __.
And my personal one is Therese Gennari. Or if you want to learn more about climate change and how to get to action, you can go to theclimateoptimist.com.
All right. Thank you both for coming on. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that your links are on the show resources page. But I just love what you're doing. It's so powerful. So thanks for coming on today.
Thanks for having us. It's been wonderful.
So thank you very much for tuning in and watching this. It's interesting because Megan and I, my partner and I, support a lot of causes behind the scenes. And every year we take a large portion of our profits and we donate to causes. And we don't really promote any of that. It's the first time I've ever talked about that publicly. But I was listening to a podcast today and it really changes the way, and it sensitive at my spine when I say this, but it really changed the way I think about it. It says, instead of building a business to make your money, to then in the end go and help charities and give it away and do the right thing, maybe you should make that at the forefront of the business, of choose a cause, go in on the cause. And the ladies have talked about choosing a different cause every year, or multiple causes, whatever it may be, but find something you stand behind and promote that. And not only that way are you able to still take a large chunk of your business or profits and be able to help other people, but then you're able to attract people to your business just because they also agree and love that you're doing those things and support good causes. There's just so many reasons to do this. But the bottom line is instead of building a business to eventually one day do it, I don't know, maybe we should change our mindset. Maybe we should start doing this as the backbone of our business and have a chance now to make a difference instead of this concept that we'll do it in the future. If you want to learn more about this, make sure you check out the ladies' website, rolemodelsmanagement.com. It's rolemodelsmgmt.com. That's rolemodelsmgmt.com. They're making a difference. You should too. Make sure you visit rolemodelsmgmt.com. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day.